I'm Sam.
And I'm Joey,
and this is Pumpkin Man.
Hey folks, it's me, Pumpkin Man.
So about a month and a half ago, Sam Dubois called me up and he was like, Joey Reese-Hill, I need your help. You and me and Kai Gerard and some others are going to build Pumpkin Man. And I was like, Sam Dubois, what is Pumpkin Man?
Pumpkin Man was born from the idea that this year should be a little less scary and a little more spooky. We were able to kind of put together a lot of kind of random stuff that we were holding on to and a lot of random skills we had to create a somewhat cohesive creature, the Pumpkin Man.
On Halloween weekend and on the weekend before Halloween, Pumpkin Man was alive and interacting with members of the community. So they could walk up and ask him a question and he could respond, or they could just watch while he talked about his backstory.
Have you heard any good jokes lately?
You know, we pumpkins have a different sense of humor than you. So you might not get this one. But here goes. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin who?
Pumpkin Man. It is me, Pumpkin Man. Get it?
Get it?
Previously, we'd made animatronics that were a lot smaller and a lot simpler for our haunted houses. But with Pumpkin Man, we were able to invest all of our efforts into one contraption, which was really nice. And we were able to really allow us to take on individual roles while still being team players. So I, for example, was mostly in charge of the mechanical aspects of Pumpkin Man and the structural aspects, making sure that he didn't tip over and making sure all the mechanisms moved smoothly enough. Kai was more in charge of the creative aspect, the painting, and the kind of design of the rib cage and how it would all come together, the feet, the hands, the head, really making everything decorated and look like a pumpkin creature. And Joey was able to handle the technical aspects from some of the electrical wiring that we did together to the coding and the development. So how tall is Pumpkin Man, you might ask? Standing up to the top of his stem, he is, tell me when I'm at the top, guys.
Keep going. Right about there.
Right about there. He is about 12 feet 9 inches. So Pumpkin Man, you might ask, how was he built? His feet are made of some pink styrofoam insulation foam. His legs are 2x4 at the core with some like a mattress topper wrapped around him. And you might be starting to notice a trend. Pumpkin Man's mostly trash, and that is the case. We estimate about 95% of him by weight is trash or stuff we already had on hand. On top of it, of all of this, we have plastic drop cloth that we essentially shrink wrapped onto it. We corpsed with a heat gun. That we were very happy with. This is camo netting we had some scraps of, and then these are some squash vines. The head is the craziest part. The head is made out of hundreds and hundreds of small blocks of wood, all stapled together and then wrapped with some fabric that we then painted. But the big compromise there is the head is about 80 pounds. So getting it to move around and also just to build a frame that was capable of supporting that was quite challenging.
Pumpkin Man is unlike us in that his brains do not live in his head. Instead, his brains are contained in a little box at his feet, where there are two little computer boards that actuate all of his motions. The first is a Raspberry Pi, which is a small programmable computer, and the second is a relay board, which the Raspberry Pi is connected to. The relay board is a set of electronic switches that the Raspberry Pi can turn on or off to power Pumpkin Man's motions. The Raspberry Pi is currently set up to be a web server for a web page that's only accessible on Sam's network, and I can use it to control Pumpkin Man. So for instance, if I press the stand up button, it sends a signal through the relays and tells Pumpkin Man to stand up. If I press the arms up button, likewise, his arms go up, and if I press arms down, his arms go down. I also have control of a light inside his head, which is hard to see during the daytime, but at nighttime it makes it look like his head is glowing like a jack-o'-lantern. And I have control over a fog machine, which can send some fog out of Pumpkin Man's mouth, which helps things look a little bit more spooky. In addition to those controls, I have control over his mouth, and I have control over his head. So he can look right, he can look left, he can look up, and he can look down.
Hello, so here we're at the side of the Pumpkin Man. We've removed the camo netting to kind of show the mechanism, the biggest mechanism that moves the whole Pumpkin Man, which is our 4-bar lift. Where it's actually pivoting about, at the top where it's taking all the weight of the Pumpkin Man, I just have a random piece of steel pipe going through. All of the electricity and the air needed for the rest of the mechanisms has to move with it. And for that, we have this kind of tangle of wires and air hose that follows up and down and around to the brain box with the Raspberry Pi down here. We have the arm, and the arm has a pivot, which is just a bolt right here. And kind of doing the simplest thing possible, we just mounted a cylinder to the upper arm that pushes down on the back of the lower arm. See, this little bit of the cylinder is pushing down, raising the arm up. When I release, it'll slowly go back down. So for fog, what we have is this 800-watt fog machine, and it's hooked up right in front of this pipe. This is some like drainage pipe for your house. It's just what I had on hand. And I have that pipe running all the way up this mechanism, so it's flexible, it can move with the mechanism, and up into the head. Next, I guess we can talk about the head motion. So to move the head, we have 2 pneumatic cylinders up here that are mounted to the back of the head at 2 separate points. And then we also have, the head is on essentially a ball joint made by a few hinges in the center of the head, so that it can rotate and tilt all about its center. So then when we actuate one of the side cylinders, such as this one, the head will turn. And then if we actuate both cylinders, the head will look up. So here is both cylinders, the head is looking up. And then both cylinders, the head's looking down. So we essentially, with 2 cylinders, we were able to create 4 different positions, combinations of the 2 being actuated, and allow him to look center and up and left and right, which I was really happy with. Joey also, by chance, is Pumpkin Man, the voice of Pumpkin Man and the main puppeteer of his motions.
Voicing Pumpkin Man was a fun experience because people had great questions, and sometimes when I heard a question that I hadn't heard before, I was able to develop a new response and expand Pumpkin Man's character. For instance, we discovered that he has a very intense skincare and hair care routine. He's been taking a lot of selfies. He thinks he looks great from every angle. Sam says that's not true. He's trying to find a car he can fit in. He might even be interested in turning to a life of crime post-Halloween. And all of these things I discovered because people asked interesting questions to Pumpkin Man.
I think Pumpkin Man was a good success. We had about as many people as we could safely have visiting Pumpkin Man on its during its main shows. And then for the pre-recorded shows that we had on weeknights, twice a night, we did not have any shows that were unattended. No matter what, every night at 7 and 8, people would kind of come out onto the street and hear from Pumpkin Man, which is really fun to see. Do you have a partner, Pumpkin Man?
Looking for a partner in crime. Trying to get into criminality. If you have any recommendations, send them my way. But for now, I'm solo.
What kind of criminality?
Bank robberies, surprise Halloween decoration, vigilante justice against pumpkin pie eaters.